All right, folks, what is up? This is One Big Bugga, and I am coming at you with Euro Truck Simulator 2. So, we just completed filling our garage. We have 5 trucks, 5 drivers in our main garage. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to buy another garage yet. What I want to do is earn the money to upgrade each and every one of these trucks to their fullest. So 6x4 chassis, most powerful engine they have. Um, Put some lights, some bull bars, horns on them, trick them out before I buy any other truck. Before I save up the money for another garage and buy another truck, this is what I'm going to do. All of my trucks are going to be upgraded to fullest. So we'll start with the truck we bought first, the Mercedes, which is also the weakest, 320 horsepower. 1,050. Then the DAF will be next, which is 14. They just kind of, except for me, which should be down here, these actually go in order of how much horsepower they are, and they're all stock. So that gives you an idea. This may not be stock because this is the truck I started with, or is it? I think this is the truck I started with before I got the Freightliner. So this would be my oldest truck, I believe. Uh, See, I think this is all about the driver. 16,000. No, this is gonna be. Oh, yeah, that's right. I sold my Mercedes. I sold my Mercedes to get the Kensworth, and I sold the Kensworth. So this is a different Mercedes. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's just what we're gonna do. I'm gonna save money to upgrade all of these trucks to their fullest. Um, so we've already set our GPS for our trailer, which sadly is going to be a box trailer. Nothing special because I made the mistake I usually do when buying. Yeah, I know I'm backing pretty much into the fence at this point. I made the same mistake I usually do when buying a new truck, and that's I say I want to drive it rather than just send it to my garage. So we didn't get to start in the town we ended in. But it's fine, really, because there wasn't anything overly special in that town anyways. So really not a huge deal, not a big loss. I'm recording this while the other video that you're going to watch today or tomorrow or whenever you watch it, as I take a very poor corner because I was going too fast. To have a steering wheel. But anyways, yeah, it's the blue one, if I remember right. Yep, 20 tons of medical equipment. So you know what trailer I'd love somebody to add? Maybe like Jazzy Cat could add. I should see if he's updated any of his stuff. I haven't looked in a while. But something maybe somebody add is the ability to have specific trailers for medical. Maybe tow a dental trailer or an MRI trailer would actually be really good as well. And, and have it be like extra fragile. Um, there we go. Okay, we're good. Have it be like extra fragile because it's very sensitive equipment. So, but I don't know. Stay green, thank you. You're turning, so I can go. But yeah, I recorded that video you watched before this. I recorded that almost like right after weed eating, and then I went and took a shower, and oh damn it. Then I went and took a shower, and Came back, sat down for a few minutes, had myself a Go-Gurt. Yes, I eat Go-Gurt. To be fair, Go-Gurt's smaller portioned um, than a yogurt cup. Um, it's also easier to store. You don't need a spoon, and you can freeze it. So I actually and it's immensely cheaper. The average Go-Gurt 32 sticks of Go-Gurt is about $5, where the average 15 to 18 cups of yogurt are 12. So yeah, I prefer Go-Gurt. So I had a Go-Gurt, watched a video or two, sat down, got myself ready, and now I'm recording this while the other video's uploading. And hopefully, by doing that, it'll also help put me on track again for having a video ready to upload and being able to record a video while that video uploads. That's kind of what I've been doing, having a video ready to upload the next day, and then uploading when that video is uploading, recording the video for the day after. So we shall see. I don't know why I did that. I just did. I gotta get something to eat once I'm done with this recording. Uh, I didn't eat breakfast again today. Mainly for the specific reason that, again, I blew my diet out of the fucking water and went to McDonald's again last night. Got a quarter pounder with cheese meal, large size, with an extra quarter pounder that I could get for free. Two double McDoubles and two McDoubles and a what the hell is it? Uh, a 20-piece nugget as I usually get. And I again it was I don't know what it was. To be fair at this point. So again, it was no actually it wasn't because I have no idea what it was. I just went and I did it and I shouldn't have. I was stupid and it bugs me. So I'm kind of like saying today's the reset button. Today's, oh, well, that's trailer damage because I was too stupid to look, isn't it? 7, yep. Ah, 1% from that already. So let's try and keep it at 1%. Part of the problem I'm having right now is I don't want to close the shade to my window or it's going to get really fucking hot in this room, but the sun is shining in a very bad position. So I'm having to sit at a very awkward, I'm sitting in an awkward position at an awkward angle, trying to keep the sun out of my eyes until either a cloud comes along and covers it or it finally moves off behind my window frame where it's not going to bother me anymore. So. Ugh. I don't know. English, motherfricker. Do you speak it? I try not to swear too much on my video. That's not to say that they don't slip out and I don't say things, especially when I get intense. But I try and curb it a little bit, when I'm talking about. And what happened there is, a thought crossed my mind, but my mouth couldn't catch up to it in time, and the thought passed, and my mouth was like, well, fuck, I'm working, but I don't know what to say now. And see, there we go. Frick earlier, and then now I just said, yeah. See, sometimes I curb it, sometimes I don't. Depends on how much I'm paying attention to what I'm actually saying. I have no idea. I'm in one of those moods right now. I think I may be on an upswing. I think I may be starting to peak out a little bit on a up mood. I am bipolar. I do have mood swings. As I've said many times, as a guy, My mood swings tend to be less intense than the average woman who gets like it's a catchable disease. So no, who has bipolarism? Because bipolarism, as far as I know, is not something you can just get. It's hereditary. You cannot get it, or you can either basically, as far as I see it, not be born with it, even though it runs in your family, or be born with it. And sadly, I was born with it. Um, so I was on a down not too long ago, so I'm probably gone through my neutral phase and I'm back on an upswing. And I know what I said to some people may sound sexist. As a guy, I don't have my mood swings aren't as bad as a woman who has bipolarism. That's not me trying to be a jerk or a sexist or anything like that. It's not. It's fact. That's not to say men who have bipolarism cannot have extreme mood swings. It's just a medical fact, though, that um, men who have bipolarism have a tendency to have a milder version of it than women do. It is more often that the mood swings and attitude changes for men will be slightly to far less severe than a woman. And I think that's really just because, you know, just the way things are. Women tend to be more in touch with their emotions. I know that's the politically correct way of saying emotional, but it's true. Women tend to be more in touch with their emotions and more open with their emotions than men do. So I think that's why, at least in some way, men tend to be a little less affected by bipolarism than women are, because men aren't as in touch, basically emotional. They don't influence us quite as much as a woman does. My wife, living proof of how much her emotions could influence you know how she did and what she said. I'm digging a huge fucking hole here and I see no way to get out of it. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying, though. I'm not trying to down anybody or anyone or anything. All I'm saying is it's science fact. It's medical fact, okay? And I'm going to stop digging that hole now, and I'm going to go and try and talk about something else before I can order Chinese food without leaving. Oh, that was just like horrible. I feel really, really stupid right now. Yeah, I'm a little worn out, obviously. It hasn't helped that it doesn't help that I have not eaten yet, but I'm going to. I'm going to go make myself a turkey burger. I don't know if I'm gonna have garbanzo beans, or I might, or if I don't know what I'm gonna do. Um, I might have like some craisins, just a turkey burger, and I'm pretty sure I got enough bread. I gotta see how much longer, because October is a long month. It is. Usually October is like a 5 week month versus everything else, but I gotta see when I get paid next, roughly. Oh, we took that corner really nicely for once. So, uh, I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna eat, but I know it's gonna be a turkey burger. Huh. Man, I don't know why thinking my mind just went in places it really shouldn't have. And of course, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit now. My friend, who I knew a long time ago, and it was arguably, uh, possibly arguably, my best friend, and it's a friendship that I took advantage of more than once, and I really kind of spoiled, and I regret it. But for a while, we had a really good relationship. A friend of mine named Sam. I don't know how much I've talked about him. He's a big guy, 6'5", about 325. Not muscled, but not somebody you'd mess with either. He was in the military for quite a while, so again, it's not somebody you mess with. Um, Strong, very strong guy. Um, Definitely goofy. He had a goofy side to him, but a very kind-hearted man as well. Became friends with him one day. I just had a really bad day at work. Shut my lights on. I had a really bad day at work, and he worked, and he just came over to me. I forget what had been going on for sure. I was 19 at the time when this happened. I was 19 at the time when this happened. He'd come over. He came over to me and said, "Hey, you know what? Come with me." This is what? He said, "Yeah, I'm just gonna take you out." And we went to an arcade, which was my favorite thing to do. Yes, this is when arcades were still actually semi-popular. We went to an arcade and we just hung out and played, and he paid for everything. And from that point on, he became a friend. We used to hang out all the time. Um, we used to go to arcades all the time. We used to go out to eat all the time. He'd come over. He'd bring snacks and a board game or two, and we'd play board games. Laughing. We'd play video games together. We had a really good, fun time. And when we lived in this one place, we started, renting videos from a video store. And this video, of course, had the adult section, which we were not shy of renting. No, we typically did not watch them together. I say typically because there was an exception to the rule. An exception was is this store that we used to rent from had adult anime. And this is the first time, I mean, I knew about anime. Some. You know, I grew up watching anime, Americanized versions of anime. Okay, Americanized versions of anime. I grew up watching them. Force 5, which was Vanguard 8. These are the American names. These are not, I think some of them are the Japanese names, and some of them were changed for American names. There was Monday was Vanguard Ace. Tuesday was the Star Avengers, I think. Wednesday was my least favorite in many ways because it was the only one to not involve giant robots. Uh, and I forget the name of it actually. It was Star something. Thursday was Grandizer, which was my favorite, and then Friday was Guy King, which was my second favorite. I'll have to go and look up what it was. I really will. I forget. I'm pretty sure it was Star Avengers and then Star something. I could probably describe it, and anyone who used to watch old school anime could figure out what it is. Um, it was in some ways like an outer space version of Inuyasha. Yeah, this one guy was tasked to help this princess, but he was like a criminal. But he was also typical story. He's a criminal, but he was also the best fighter out there. And I believe his name may have been Jesse for the Americanized version. And they fly around in this ship, and of course, he has his own little ship, which is the Crow, I believe it was called. And he uses this weapon that he wasn't supposed to use. He got to choose his weapon, and he of course found this hidden thing it wasn't supposed to use, and he was able to use it. It's called the Astrobat. Basically a staff with two ends that he could be used as weapons, and had different things he could do with it, different configurations. Um, And through their travels, he met two other uh, people that joined him in helping to protect the princess. One guy was based on a water planet that was losing its water. I don't remember his name, but of course, all of his things were like centered around tridents, and uh, his ship was blue, and he was a water specialist. The other one, which I do remember, was the typical very strong. Um, he was the strong, not very smart type who was honestly often the depiction of the American, as I saw it, anyways. In most Japanese, you had that one big, hefty dude who was very strong, not overly smart, and looked a little bit more round-eyed, wide-eyed, less. He looked a lot less Asian than the other characters, and that's because he was often the depiction of the American. Um, there was one in, and that tradition is kind of stuck. Honestly, there was one in Voltron, the uh, the Yellow Lion. I believe was piloted him. There was one in Star Blazers. Not yeah, there was one in Star Blazers, the Marine captain or commander. There was one in Star Avengers. He piloted the Star Poseidon. Um, and there were all kinds, and this one was probably the most outrageous, but also I don't know. You just couldn't hate him. And of course, his name was Porcos. Hmm, Porcos. Yeah, that was his name, Porcos. He used a mace or a morning star, something of that nature. Awesome. Tudum, 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 tudum. And this dial that was on his belly, he could use as a shield. He was heavy set. He did eat a lot. He did make a lot of grunting noises like a pig. But he was very strong, very loyal, none too bright, very typical in this fashion of Japanese anime. And of course, then there was the princess, who was the pretty long-haired pink girl, who Jesse actually really did like and have a crush on, but would usually kind of like play it off as Mr. Tough Guy. And the princess also had a way to control Jesse, which was she would cross her arms over her chest, not like under. She would literally like make an X across her chest, and it would activate a collar on Jesse, who would put him in a lot of pain until, yeah, tortured him until he did what she wanted. Although she rarely ever had to use it, um, because Jesse was supposed to be a criminal. That would never be accepted in this. I'm realizing how much that just would not fly um, in today's world, and that's really depressing. Um, because to me, as a little kid, it made sense back then. I didn't think anything of it. Um, but anyways, that's how it's a lot like Inuyasha in that sense. Jesse is basically he's Inuyasha, the cockiness, the arrogance, the rebel background. But you could see shit, 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 shit. Wow. Wow, how did I do that? How did I pull that off? Wow. I don't know. I don't know how I did that, but I did it. There you go. Oh, wow. I don't know if I suffered any damage on the trailer from that, but Well, listen, I could have suffered hitting any one of those things. The guardrail, an oncoming car, the tree, the pole. Any of it would have been a lot worse. No, it's still only reading 1%. So we're good. And it looks like we're going to actually finish this run outright. We've only got 376 more kilometers to go. Provided we don't run into too many of these or too many um, toll booths. Jesus. My mind was just like, nah, I'm done. You're on your own, dude. I'm out of here. I had to get the lasso and pull that one back. Yeah, I was talking earlier. That's basically how it was a lot like Inuyasha. Now that I kind of look at it, I actually wonder if the maker of Inuyasha drew inspiration from that show, or if maybe another show that drew inspiration from it. But that's why I used to watch Force 5, and they were Americanized anime, so I was familiar with anime. I also used to watch Transor Z. Transor Z. Um, Star Blazers, of course, was my favorite, and of course, it wasn't called Star Blazers in Japan. Wow, I actually shifted gears, and my cruise control kept going. Hit. Yeah, that was risky. And this is going to be risky too, but it's a highway, so I'm going to risk it. Usually you shift gears and your cruise control would shut off. I just shifted gears and my cruise control held. Wow, that's impressive. Um, yeah, but those are my favorite animes. Star Blazers, or as the actual Japanese, it was Battleship Yamato. Then there was Star Blazers. Uh, Star Blazers, Force 5, Transor Z. There was one more I used to watch, G-Force. I don't know what the Japanese, the actual name of for, but here was G-Force. I actually forgot what I why I started talking about that in the first place. Kind of funky, kind of funky. I know I started talking about. Oh, I remember my friend Sam. Duh. Okay. Here we go. So, I was familiar with anime, but I was not familiar with hentai. Um, and so this was my first experience with hentai. So me and my friend Sam actually used to watch these together. No, we did not do anything in each other's presence. Actually, these hentai were they not only had adult themes in it, but they were comical hentais. They weren't serious hentais. They weren't, the ones that we're more familiar with. These were more comical. A lot of the hentais that we used to watch when we were renting these videos um, would often, I would say out of maybe the 10 total that we managed to find and rent, 7 of them had a character known as Princess Lamey. Yeah. So again, I don't know what to say fully about that, but they were more comical, so we used to laugh our asses off. um, watching them because they were actually pretty terrible. It was one of those things you watched and you kept watching because they were just that bad. It was honestly like watching a porno version of anime. The act, you know how you go and watch some porno version of Star Trek or Star Wars. How no matter what movie is made out there in the world, there's a porn version of it with a funny name, and the acting and plot are really so terrible and bad and thin that it just might as well not exist. Yeah, this was the anime version of that. I don't know if they were playing off other animes, but you know, if they were satiring other animes and that's why they did this, but that's basically what it was. You know what? I am going to finish this video here on this, but I don't want to end up in the same situation I was in. So I'm going to fuel up and we're going to rest, and then we're just going to complete the other 218 kilometers. I don't want to end up in the last situation I was in where I had to rush it. That's just not where I want to be. So, you know, that's just what we used to watch. And it was rather comical. And I just remember that. And I forget what made me think of that as well. Rain, I knew it. You could hear the rain uh, before I even got started. Oh, right. Shit. Um, company manager, driver man. I forgot to do this. You're our newest driver. I don't want you focusing balance. I want you focused on long distance. Mm. You're focused on balance. You're focused on balance. You're focused on balance. And then I'm focused on whatever the fuck I want because I can. You know what I really should do is these guys, I think, have enough points and everything else that they'll need. They only need 1 point. Having the extra fuel efficiency helps. So I'm going to focus them on ADR, and then I'll focus them on fuel efficiency. Then I'll let them balance it out. And he just focuses on long distance to crank it up. He's got on time, and that I would like him to have a point in fragile, honestly. So why don't we have him unlock fragile, and then we'll go back. Okay. Of course, you know, nowadays I'm much more familiar with a lot of animes, but not nearly as much as an actual anime fan. You know, my favorite anime out there is One Piece. I'm not big into Naruto, even though I believe it to be an awesome anime. Of what I've watched of Naruto, I've actually loved it. My favorite character in Naruto is, of course, Rock Lee. Um, my favorite battle for Rock Lee is his one against Gaara, where you actually, for the first time ever, see Rock Lee's full potential, even though he loses against Gaara. Spoiler alert. This should have been. If you don't already know that, then I'm sorry. You should. But you see his absolute determination, strength to win, and just everything about him. So the funniest scene in that whole battle with Rock Lee versus Gara is when his sensei guy tells Rock that he can take his leg weights off, and Rock Lee's like, "You sure?" And he says, "Yes, I allow it." And these guys are like Rock Lee and Guy are kind of like the comical relief of the show, but They're also some of the baddest ass characters in the game. In the show rather. I talk about video games a little too much. But they're the baddest ass characters, some of the baddest ass characters in the show with what they can do. So, Rock takes these leg weights off and he's holding them and he holds them out and he drops them. And please, please, thank you. No, 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 don't hit my trailer. Please don't hit my trailer. I don't think he hit my trailer. Um, he drops the weights and people are like, that's not going to help. Dropping a few pounds of leg weights isn't going to make any difference. And then just as somebody finishes saying that, you get coach, and these giant dirt clouds fly up as you're guessing the impact of several tons hits the ground. And it's just hilarious. It was one of the funniest moments in the show I've ever seen. But Naruto's definitely an awesome anime. Was never an Airbender fan, even though I know Airbender to also be an awesome anime. Watched Dragon Ball up to the ending of GT. Haven't gone back since because more of the same. More of the same. You know, you could say the same thing about One Piece, more of the same, but there's just something about One Piece. There's more of a tragic story for each character, and new characters being constantly introduced, both good and bad. And I just don't know how to describe it. Plus the different powers they have in One Piece versus Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, it's key versus key. They each have different techniques through the key, but that's it. They just each have different techniques. You're still dealing with energy balls and explosions and beams and things like that. Where in One Piece, there are hundreds, thousands of different abilities and people having to come up against them. Now, that's not to say there's not a lot of same abilities. There are people that are eccentrically skilled with swords, like Zoro and everyone that he ends up fighting. But they also come with their own powers behind those swords. Like he fought one guy that could morph into a giraffe form that made him much more powerful. Another guy used a rapier versus his sword. Another guy was able to manipulate rock, and just different things like that. So there was always an element of difference in the whole thing. And coming to the main protagonist, Luffy, in One Piece, his ability always remains the same, rubber, but he's always having to come up with new techniques, new abilities, new moves to defeat his opponents because his opponents are constantly changing. He's when he finishes fighting. All right, let's take the first big super fight that Luffy got into against Crocodile. Um, Crocodile was basically made of sand. Is made of sand. It can manipulate sand, and Luffy had to figure out how to be able to hit him, let alone anything else. Um, After Luffy defeats him, his next major battle, which is against I don't know, I forget the guy's name, but he was basically made of lightning. And, the only reason Luffy was able to fight him was because Luffy was made of rubber. So he didn't, lightning didn't hurt him as much. So he's able to fight him. But again, he had to overcome a lot of different obstacles versus this guy's ability. Plus, at the time, this is when Luffy wasn't using Haki, which is something that was been brought in later on. And Luffy's had to fight people that can pull their bodies apart. He's had to fight people that can They're made basically of light, ice, fire, you name it. Luffy, it's there, and Luffy's going to have to fight against it at some point, and all the different things that they've had to go through. Excuse me. So there's always an element of difference in there. Like Luffy's most recent fight versus Don Flamingo, who's able to use and manipulate strings. Now you may think that's not much, but it in all due seriousness and honesty actually really is. Because each villain needs to be more powerful than the last one he's faced against. Um, so that's why I think that One Piece is better, and why One Piece continues to be so popular versus Dragon Ball, which is popular, but has really kind of waned in its popularity. Dragon Ball is kind of like the anime introduction to America. Even though anime was here before, even though anime was kind of one stream before, not one stream, was kind of mainstream before. Um, there were animes that helped bring it to the more forefront, like Star Blazers and Force 5 and Neo Evangelist, and I'm trying to think of that one, and I forget its name. Macross. Macross. Even though Macross is kind of like, to me, where anime really started to get into the American soils and become more mainstream, even though it existed before then. It's a lot like video games, MMOs. I don't know where you would seed it to first start things in. Kind of like, I don't know what I would compare an anime to being like Ultima. It's always been there, but only really hardcore fans knew about it. Um, but then Macross came along and kind of introduced anime to a more widespread audience. And Macross is kind of like EverQuest when it comes to MMOs. In other words, it became more of a household name, but still wasn't quite mainstream. People knew it was out there, and it would sometimes sneak its way into stories online, um, but no way became fully mainstream. And Macross was just like that. You knew about it, it existed. You could talk about it if you found the right people, which wasn't too hard, but you still had to look. And then came Dragon Ball. And to me, Dragon Ball is the World of Warcraft of anime. It brought anime full mainstream. And made anime shows and anime in general. It brought all of that straight to the mainstream and made anime a household name in America. But much like Warcraft, even though Dragon Ball is still very, very popular, it's not as popular as it used to be. And there are other animes out there that have really kind of taken over, including the Dark Horse animes, again, much like video games. I call them Dark Horse because they're not ones that were meant that people would think would get as insanely popular as they did. And then there are other ones that did, like One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. And I know there's more out there, but those are the three that I focus on the most when it comes to this and that I know more about than other animes. But I know there's more, so please don't think I'm trying to say that these are the ones. No, 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 no. No, I don't believe that at all. That there's more out there. I just really don't know as much about them as I do Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. Um, take a look at the map real quick because I know we well, yeah, we got to go there anyways, but I want to make sure we get that dealership because that is a dealership. We've already unlocked the recruitment agency here. So that is a dealership. Um, fuck, forgot where I was again. Oh yeah, Dragon Ball is just not as popular, and other enemies come along. Of course, what could possibly be one of the most popular animes right now is, of course, Attack on Titan. Even though there hasn't been any new episodes for a very, very long time. And that's because, and it's been clearly stated that that the creators and whatnot, expected, um, nobody expected uh, Attack on Titan to be as popular. It's just a Volvo dealership, but nobody expected Attack on Titan to be as popular as it was. So that's why there's been such a long time between its last release for anime and its upcoming. And even though they've put out a live action movie that a lot of people are actually not happy with, making a live action version of an anime is right now as heartbreaking as it's been to try and make a video game version, to try and make a movie out of a video game, or to try and make a good superhero movie. Until recently, superhero movies have been really crappy. And I wish they would translate what they're doing for superhero movies to anime, because then it would be a lot different. If we could get the guys that made Avenger to go along and make the story without changing a fucking thing about it into Attack on Titan, I think it would work. But that's like neither here nor there for me. Um, what I want to talk about mostly when it came to this is we're winding up, um, or winding down, however you want to look at it. Wrapping up is what I meant. Wrapping up. Um, whew, getting some big draws in here. Um, yeah, it's just I'll sum it up as quickly as I can. You know, Dragon Ball's just to me not as popular as it used to be in that One Piece is as popular as it's ever been, and it can even still continue to gain popularity because of even though it's using the same formula over and over again, like Dragon Ball does for its universe, it constantly changes up what's in the formula. As does Naruto. Naruto is using the same formula over and over and over again, but all the different techniques and jutsus in Naruto keep changing what's inside the formula that keeps it unique and interesting. Dragon Ball doesn't, because it's all ki, it's all energy beams, beam battles, energy balls, fighting at high speeds, blinking around. It's all the same thing over and over and over and over. Not only does the equation not change, but what is inside the equation, inside the formula, not change. And that's to me why Dragon Ball has become stale versus other animes. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at, and I was just going a very long way about it. All right, what are we towing? I wish. Oh, that is the heaviest trailer I've seen. 135 tons. 135 fucking tons. The heaviest was 127. I don't want any of the top three trailers here because we just recently did the 22-ton one. I know we've done that timber trailer and we've also done a log trailer. I'm almost sure of it. So we're looking at Woodbark, which goes to where we've been, even though it's a nice long trip. This goes to where we haven't been and would be really freaking interesting because we will be spending almost all of our time on the side of the road that we constantly forget about, even though it's a box trailer, still. And yeah, I've done this trailer too. I haven't done that trailer, but yeah, I don't want this one. I don't want this one. I don't want this one. This is going to where we have already gone, or I would take this one. So this is the one we're going to take here, and we're going to cut all the way through the United Kingdom. Even though I think I've actually driven this road before, this is just where we're going to go. That's the one we're going to take. All right, folks. So that's going to be me done for this episode. I hope you've been enjoying watching this as much as I've been enjoying bringing it to you. Until next time, this is going to be one big bugger. I am going to be signing out, and it's getting late. I need something to eat. To hell with lunch anymore. I think I'm eating dinner at this point. I'll see you.